here is the freezer. The lid is off and I'm starting to build the collar. The main structure material for the collar is this stuff I found at the local big box home store. It's dimensional composite. I don't know, is lumber the right word? It's basically it's plastic, and it comes in a number of different sizes, mostly 1x, but they also had these bits of 2x that came in 12-foot lengths, which it turns out that a pair of these 2x's in 12-foot lengths is enough to go around the collar twice. So since they don't have 2x4 or 2x6 dimensional lumber, apparently you can get it, but it's really hard to do. I went ahead with just a straight 2x2, and what I did was I bought some antibacterial kitchen and bathroom caulking, and I simply glued the pieces together with this stuff. You know, it's not, you can see how it's not beautiful. The lines are pretty obvious where the gluing was done, but that's not really relevant, and you'll that's not really relevant, and you'll see why at the end of the project. I'll let you in on the secret. Most of this is going to be hidden. So right now what I have is I have the basic form kind of dummied up and held together with these corner clamps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more of that caulking, and I'm gonna stick the caulking in between these joints, press them together, let them dry overnight, and move on to the next step. You see that I've put paper on top of the rim of the freezer so that any of the caulking that bleeds down through the joints will not stick to the freezer. Okay, the collar, the rough collar, is glued up. It's had a couple of nights to cure, so I'll be taking the clamps off and setting it into place to see how it looks. And we'll talk again in a moment. The collar lines up nicely. Next we're going to build the face for it. So I've got these 3 pieces of mahogany, which I will start to dummy into place. Probably, just like I didn't really show you my so-called carpentry skills when I was doing the rough collar, I'm really not going to expend any filming my attempts to get this collar roughed into place. I'll just show you some of the key points. So here goes. Starting to get the collar face dummied into place. I purposefully bought these pieces of wood to be oversized so that I could then cut them down to size. And what I did was I made the 2 miter joints for one corner, and I got them completely lined up. I painstakingly set them into place, carefully clamped them, nudged them a little bit, and now you can see it's pretty nice line up here. It mates pretty well. And then I got a rough estimate for where this next cut should go. And this is what I wanted to point out to you. When you're cutting pieces of wood that are important like this, remember that you can always cut it shorter. So even though I made my pencil mark pretty close to exactly where I wanted it, I still very deliberately cut it about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch over, and then brought it down here to check the alignment. And of course, like I expected, the alignment isn't there. I still need to cut it shorter, but the thing is I can cut it shorter. If I had cut it too short, I'd have been hosed. So this is the part of making the collar that's the biggest pain, because quite literally I have to take this piece off, bring it back to the saw, cut the tiniest little bit off of it again, bring it back, check the alignment, and just keep doing this until I get it the right length and it lines up good. Now, somebody who was not a lousy carpenter probably would be able to do this in much fewer steps, but unfortunately that's kind of my restriction. I have to work within my limitations. So I will go and do all of that stuff and show you what it looks like when it's ready to be glued into place. Alright, several cuts and refits later, we are good. The miter joints all look pretty tight. You can see here, you can see it seems to be a little bit unaligned here, but that'll be taken care of when I glue it into place. So I also have marked in pencil where I'm going to cut the back end of these pieces off. But that's basically it. There's the rough work. Now it's time to start putting things together. Alright, I have the collar face roughed into place, glued, and hopefully we can see this. I've got a little brace under each corner just to keep it stable. I'm going to let that dry, let the glue cure overnight, and then we'll attach it to the collar and see where we go from there. Alright, the collar face is now in place. I have screwed it into place in all of the corners, and on the face what I did was about halfway down the height I put a big bead of that antibacterial caulk and basically clamped it into place so that let it cure overnight, and the face will, because the face is so long, I'm a little bit worried about it kind of pulling away. So with the caulk holding it into place, that serves a dual purpose as a glue and as a mold inhibitor. So we're going to let that cure overnight and get going on the rest of it. There it is. Fits nicely. I gave the that caulking overnight to cure, so it's pretty well glued into place. You can also see that I ran a round over bit on all of these sharp edges, because I think with something that's going to get this kind of attention, especially by people who've been drinking, the sharp edges, if I had left them, they would just start looking like hell pretty quick from people bumping into it. So just rounded it over a little bit, little 1/4 inch round over, and now let's start talking about drilling holes. Okay, more progress. Got the taps mounted. All you do to mount the taps is just put 7/8 holes. In my case, I put them on 5-inch centers. You notice that the tap all the way to the right is a nitro tap. That's going to be a dedicated nitro tap. I've got 4 coats of tung oil on the wooden collar. I have the temperature controller in place. If you look around to the side, you can see that I have the regulators mounted. Actually, a little quick thing about the regulators. One of the things I did as far as making this thing a little bit more utilitarian is you can see that I put a corny keg connector on the inlet, so that way I can just continuously have a regular corny keg gas in connector on my CO2 tank and just plug it right into the regulators And then if I ever need to borrow the tank, all I got to do is just take the connector off, take the tank, do whatever I want, and that'll keep the system will stay pressurized, which will be nice. So that's one nice convenience feature. As far as the gas lines, all I did was took a 9/16 wood boring bit and just drilled 3 9/16 holes in the back of the collar and ran them in. So that's about that for now.